Hi, welcome back. In this series of sessions, we're looking at Datasphere concepts in detail. In my previous session, I gave an overview on the ETL objects or data integration objects in Datasphere. And then we're going to start with remote table object in this session. From this picture, you can see that remote table is it can federate, or which is remote access, or it can replicate. So federate is just no data persistence in Datasphere cloud, but replicate physically stores the data in Datasphere. So we're going to look at these two capabilities in Datasphere by creating a remote table. Let's switch to the Datasphere system and see how to create the remote tables. I'm going to switch to the Datasphere trial. This is a free trial you can access. You get a guided experience, user ID and password. And some of the administrative activities are restricted here, but you can do your data object creation without any problem. So I have my data builder app open. You can also see the catalog and repository explorer. This is where I can organize my folders. So I'm going to create some objects inside the repository explorer of my space. Space is one of the most important thing. Without space, you can't do anything in Datasphere. So you must have a space. So we're going to talk about spaces in details. How do we create space? Um, it's not about just how to create a space, but space design is one of the important factors to be done when you start working in Datasphere, because space consists of memory and storage locations in Datasphere, and then objects access is restricted within the space. In order to get the access to the objects, we must explicitly share the access from one space to another space. So space is really kind of most important thing, not only for organizing your objects, for your storage allocation, and also lifecycle management using transports or content transport. So we'll come to that topic in later. But we start with default space that I have available in trial system. That's the space with my user ID created. And then I have a folder created, training. Go into the training, and then I have a folder created for ETL objects. I'm going to this folder, and then start creating my remote tables. Or inside, these are the custom folders that I created. There's nothing in it, just it is to organize my objects in a better way. So I have this remote tables folder right now, and then I can start creating objects inside these folders. So for this, my first object is going to be remote tables. The way I create remote tables is not from the folders. I go to the data builder, and then there's an option for me to choose import remote tables. I'm going to select this one. It is taking me to a widget where I have to select the connection. So as I said, there are different types of connections that you can use, and you can see I've got few already created by SAP trial instance owner. So it is a good thing. In order to create these connections, it needs a lot of effort and understanding on how to give the parameters for each connection. Like for S/4HANA Cloud, there are certain parameters and certain configuration needs to be done in S4 Cloud, and as well as in the configuration of connection. So really, we are not in this session, we're not really looking at the connection configuration, since we already have those connections pre-built. So we can talk about the connection creation and what type of connection that we need to choose depending on the source system. We can cover in another separate session, or maybe 2 or 3 sessions for connections itself, because that's one of the most complex thing. It all depends on your firewall settings. If you're connecting to on-premise, your cloud connected data provisioning agent, and objects that are in the source, whether they are enabled for real-time replication or not. There are a lot of things that we need to understand in terms of creating a connection. So we're not going into those connections in this session. So we continue to move on with the connections that are available. I'll start with S4HANA uh, on-premise. So we'll see if you click next, you can see there are extractors. Extractors are from your SAP API. You can see logistic extractors and controlling and all the SAP standard extractors you still have available in S4HANA on-premise. You can also see a BAP CDS. There's a CDS view extractor base, CDS view based extractors where you can also um, uh, get them. So S4HANA on-premise is a combination of it's BW embedded, but we're really not worrying about BW embedded. Here we focus more on ABAP series or SAP standard legacy extractors for logistics, and because there's still some extractors that are not moved to ABAP series views. So still we need to use SAP extractors for those use cases. You can also have the ABAP tables by names. You can replicate or recreate remote tables on top of the above tables as well. Let me step back and show you what is available for S4HANA Cloud. S4HANA Public Cloud is very restricted, so you don't get a lot of access to the S4HANA Cloud. That's why you see the only way that ABAP S4HANA Cloud exposes the objects in to the Datasphere is only through CDS ABAP. There's no access or there's no SAP extractors as well in public cloud. So that this is very restricted and it's very clean. As for HANA public cloud is much clean ERP that you don't get any custom on-premise or old SAP extractors availability, or also tables. You can't access the tables directly using S4HANA Cloud. So I'm not going into this S4HANA Cloud system. I can start with this, but I would like to start with there's no difference in above CDS view access in both these connections, but the way these connections created, there's a difference. The S4HANA on-premise uses ABAP type adapter, and this S4HANA Cloud uses Cloud Data Integration Adapter. So we're going to look at the differences of those type of adapters and integration types in the connections top session. For now, we'll start with S4HANA and then go ahead, and I can replicate the tables. I'm going to start with, let's say, Mara, and then search for it, and then open the above tables by name, and you can look for Mara here. Or you can click on that the prefix of the name, and you can see all the tables coming up here. And you can search for the table name, and then you get it here. So select that table name and then say next, and then it is going to propose a technical name for that, and then table type is table, and then import and deploy. Similarly, I'm going to import another object called CDS view as well. Once it's getting completed, I can go back and then start doing it. I can actually do multiple at once, but since my object is another one, I'm going to look for, so I'm going to access an SAP old extractor that is going to be at 0. The extractor starts with 0, and then I click on that. It's going to start giving me all the extractors that are based on um, standard extractors. So I can say 0 material. I can say 0 customer. Yeah, I can say 0 cost center, and then select that extractor, and then next, and then this extractor now being imported into my Datasphere. And then I can also keep the above CDS view, but I can take it from S/4HANA Cloud instead of, or I can pick it up. It's just that it's the same way as we do for the table and SAP extractor. So I'm going to close this one. So now we have that new object here. It is called, um, I can actually scroll down to see those objects. Or if I know the object names, I can just go and select it and then cost center and and then move them to my training folder. I should be in the training folder so that I would have created directly my objects in the required folder, but just that I created outside of training folder. So what I'm going to do, I can move these objects the from this folder to the training folder. I'm going to go into the training and the ETL objects, and then I'm going to choose remote tables and then say move. Instead of doing this, I would have gone to the training folder and then create those objects at the required place. So now my objects are created, and then since they are remote tables, I can do the data display. So I can go to the repository explorer, um, find my object and select it. It's going to take me to the detail uh, page for the remote table. So you wanted to see the data, click on view, can see the data appearing in for cost center on the bottom. So I can do it a little big, or you can expand it to the bigger screen to see the data. Similarly, I can do the data display for other remote table. So now I would like to do a replication to this table so that it gets persisted um, because of the slowness or performance issue on this remote table. So for that, I'm going to go into the DI monitor, or you can say data integration monitor. This is going to be just right um, underneath the data builder. In data integration monitor, I can see all the remote tables, local tables, and flows, and etc. I can monitor everything. So I'm going to go to the remote tables, and then you can see the cost center one. That is the one we are interested. Select it. You can see data replication, start data replication, and if it supports real-time data replication, I can do this one. So I'm going to do the start data replication. So when I start doing replication, and then replication job starts, and then it gets loaded to the replicated table. So you can see it is completed. Now you can access this replicated table um, in any of the analytical views, so that you get the better performance out of it. It's not that remote access, now it is a replicated access to the analytical view. So what we did, if you go back, we federated using remote table, and if you don't like or if you are not happy with the performance, and then we replicated, either we do the snapshot, that's what we did, and if you also uh, enable the real-time replications, like any delta captures to be done, you can also do the real-time replication enablement. We didn't do in this example, but you can choose that real-time replication example for the other table that we have, which is going to be general material uh, data. So I'm going to select this one and then say enable real-time replication. So this is good. Actually, we can, uh, um, oh, you can see that real-time replication is not supported for general master data. So you may have to see what is possible. Usually CDS views with primary keys are used for real-time replication capabilities. So you may have to go to the documentation and understand what is supporting the real-time replication, what type of source and what type of object for this. So I can go to the S4 HANA CDS, and then start creating a real-time replication for that. So I'm going to go back to the data builder app again. So I will switch to the data builder app here, and then I'm going to go into training. This time not in the outside. I'm going to ETL objects and then start with the remote tables and then start creating or importing a new object. So it's going to be, sorry, I'll start creating an import object for remote table. This time I'm going to pick, I can choose HANA as well, but this time I'm choosing S/4HANA Cloud. You can do SQL Server or HANA database as well. That's just that I'm going with CDS, more ECC or SAP ERP centric in this example. So, okay, I have the list of CDS. I can say business partner. If this CDS also doesn't support, because there are some prerequisites for delta capture, you need to enable the CDS view above CDS view with delta capture annotation in the source. And otherwise, you wouldn't be able to replicate or do the real-time replication. You can do the full snapshot, but you cannot do the real-time. So I didn't know that whether my CDS view that I'm selecting is having that annotation for change data capture. So I'm just trying it. If it doesn't, but you know where to go and find out the CDS view annotations, and then make sure you have that CDS enable for the real-time replication. So I'm going to select business partner, business partner CDS view. It's taking a little, and then select it, and then next step. This time it is a CDS view will be imported. Once import is done, I can close this window and then start going into that object and then start replicating, or actually start real-time replication if it's going. Let me see if that is going to work. It's public cloud system. It's so that's why you see only above serious views that are to be exposed. It's done. Now you see the third one that is going to be remote table. Oh, actually, it's not deployed. So select it and then do the deployment. So it's the symbol for deployed. It's pending for deployment. Once it is deployed, I'm going to go into this object and then see I can see the view, but it is going to get me the data from the remote source. So instead, I'm going to go into the data integration monitor and then start the public cloud one. It is going to be um, master data and then start replicating it. Fingers crossed. I'm not sure whether this is enabled with CDC. If not, we get an error saying this object is not supported. But you can. It all depends on you. Oh yeah, it's done. We are replicating the table, so it's enabled for real-time replication. So now, which means it has change data capture annotation enabled in S/4HANA system. So that's when you can see replicated and snapshot. So you go into that details. So you can see the task details it started, and then in the initial data replication started with 13.15.9 records, and then it's if there is any change in the source, it will start doing the data replication updated in the target table. So that's about the three cases of remote tables as virtual table, replicated with snapshot, and which is a full load, and replicated with real time, that is delta. So we covered all these three options in the remote table, and then we're going to stop this session, and we'll continue with replication flows. That's a very important object in Datasphere in the next session. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.